Calaroga Shark Media.
Hello and welcome to Palace Intrigue. I am your host, Mark Francis. Poppy Sowerby writes in Unheard, somewhere in Montecito on Sunday, a balding Englishman will celebrate his birthday over a bold Tiggan yellow, clinking glasses with his glamorous Californian wife. Like Footloose, Agadoo and the original Apple Mac, Prince Harry is turning 40, leaving behind a torrid decade of public spats, todger confessions and expensive therapists. Nothing quite boils the blood of middle-aged men more than the departure of the Duke of Sussex for a better life out west, an upside-down Steinbeck protagonist. Most will claim to be enraged by the Duke's abandonment of duty or some such sniffing notion, but we all know that his great crime, greater even than the suggestion that his wife once made the sainted Princess of Wales cry over bridesmaids' dresses, is self-involvement. His 2021 interview with Oprah alongside his wife Meghan confirmed our most sickening fears that the toxic creed of speaking your truth had become irreversibly lodged in good old Harry Windsor's brain. Despite having two of the most unpopular qualities in British culture, he is, after all, a ginger posho. Harry was always respected among the bulk of the public, who we must remember regard the royal family with nothing more and nothing less than detached, bemused affection. He was the light relief to William's sombre nobility, the cheeky spare who winked at naughty's lad culture and seemed to enjoy his privilege rather than wince at it, frolicking around in states of controversial dress or undress and injecting a sense of normality, fun even, into a unit which had been so racked by tragedy and worse, off-putting stuffiness. But his capture by millennial therapy culture signaled the death of this happy-go-lucky persona. When the winks stopped, we sobered up and realized we had been sat opposite a quiffed clown made up to look like a cheeky friend. Prince Harry is, without a doubt, the most millennial to ever have breathed. In his trajectory from cheeky chappy to earnest, self-regarding, counselling patient lies the story of his generation's downfall into cringe. What really sticks in the craw is not the Sussexes' progressive values, which I find to be admirable, requiring considerable bravery in today's media climate, but the damned hypocrisy of it all. It is difficult to be told to check your privilege by two Monteciton millionaires, and I fear they represent a very millennial crusade for justice. That is, one which privileges Instagrammable opportunities over substance. Harry's millennial earnestness has gone down like a cup of warm Sancerre with Gen Z, who are, on the whole, much funnier and much less cringe. And right behind us, Gen Alpha is ready to snatch the crown from their parents' receding hairlines. Prince Louis will no doubt prove that we ain't seen nothing yet. One wonders how Harry's own story will end. In the Daily Mail, Jan Moyer writes, Katy Perry, Ellen DeGeneres, Steve Martin, Jennifer Aniston, Ariana Grande, Gwyneth Paltrow and Rob Lowe are just a few of the stars who own properties in the Montecito area, alongside newer residents, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. We treat all of them just like ordinary folks, is the mantra you hear over and over in the restaurants and boutiques along the Coast Village Road. So, on the morning of September 15th, Prince Harry could be forgiven for congratulating himself on the road he has travelled to reach this point. As his milestone birthday approaches, he certainly deserves credit for having the courage to change history and his own destiny by choosing a future he felt was a better fit for his family and for himself. Yet, although Harry has gained much in the 4 years since he fled to America to escape the oppression and tyranny of inherited wealth, it could be argued that he has lost even more. Perhaps the truth is that the Duke of Sussex had to destroy his past to create his future. But even those sympathetic to his cause wonder if he really had to damage so many other members of the royal family in the process. Harry may have glory in his new life, and he may indeed have much to celebrate, but the sadness is that he will never have another brother, and he can't make new old friends. Prince Harry's past birthdays give an indication that despite the high-born benefits his passage through life has not been easy. There are a few years of innocent birthday teas featuring cakes and sorbet before the tragedy of 1997, the year he turned 13. Wreathed in a little boy's deep shock, he initially refused to believe his mother had been killed in a car crash in Paris. In Spare, he reveals his thoughts at the time. She'll be back. She has to be. It's my birthday in 2 weeks. He shot his first stag at Balmoral on his 15th birthday, had a low-key 20th as he was preparing for his Sandhurst entrance exams, although the following month he was brawling with photographers outside a London nightclub. On his 25th birthday, he was on holiday in Botswana, celebrating with cake and cocktails. On his 28th, he was a soldier under Taliban fire at Camp Bastion in Afghanistan. His 30th birthday was major, having survived the naked billiards incident in Las Vegas 2 years earlier. He inherited a large sum left to me by Mummy, had just left the army, split up with Cressida Bonus, launched the first Invictus Games, decided to trek to the South Pole, and was speaking of hopes that he would find someone to settle down with and have children. In the Standard, Luciana Bellini reminds us it's a far cry from the Duke's last milestone birthday. Then a 30-year-old Harry was fourth in line to the throne and at the heart of the firm, regularly voted the most popular member of the royal family. He celebrated his birthday with a black tie bash at Clarence House thrown by his brother, with bottles of Highgrove champagne sent by his father. Today, those closest to him say he's at a crossroads with his future uncertain. Many of his projects in the US haven't panned out the way he'd like, and friends say he spends more time looking back than forwards. Harry's a bit of a lost soul in that he's lost his chief official role in life, says Stephen Bates, author of Royalty Inc., Britain's best-known brand. He's become an irrelevance stuck in a golden cage. Royal expert Ingrid Seward spoke to The Sun about the old adage, if you haven't made it by 40, you never will. Ingrid said, but of course, that's not true. But I think in the back of Harry's mind, probably he's thinking, I've got to get on with it. I've got to really go for it now. He has success of the Invictus Games, which we all know, but we can't really name anything else. There were lots of other philanthropic things, but just off the top of my head, I only think Invictus. So I think Harry needs to kind of get a stronger foothold into that world that he says he wants to promote so badly. In the Daily Mail, Bryony Gordon tells us what her friends, Prince Harry and Meghan, are really like. She writes, people want to know what they are like, but only if it tallies with the version of the famous person that they have created in their own head. I mention this because about 8 years ago I became friends with Prince Harry, and ever since life has been peppered with questions from people curious to know more about his character. Has he been brainwashed? Is he intent on bringing down the monarchy? Does he smell of money? And so on and so forth. And when I tell them my honest opinion that he is kind, funny, and pretty damn normal, all things considered, I often see a flash of disappointment cloud their faces, followed quickly by words to the effect of, well, you would say that, you know him, as if knowing someone should disqualify you from having a trusted opinion about them. There are no airs or graces with them, no desire to do anything other than protect their children from an increasingly digital world that likes nothing more than seeing the worst in people. A world that forgets that no matter how high profile a person is, they're just doing their best, like everyone else. This is not what people want to hear, but it is what I've found time and time again. So, happy 40th birthday, Has. May you continue to make a difference for the next 40 years, regardless of the naysayers. Harry told the BBC, I was anxious about 30, I'm excited about 40, whatever the age. My mission is to continue showing up and doing good in the world. Palace Intrigue will be right back. In The Telegraph, Hannah Furness writes about what's next for Harry. The Duke and Duchess are committed to their mission. Show up, do good, we are told. Next up, shortly after his birthday, Harry is planning a trip to New York for meetings with 4 of his familiar organizations: African Parks, the Halo Trust, the Diana Award, and ecotourism company Travelist. They seem set to re-establish Harry's own long-term projects, as well as positioning him as Diana's son. He usually travels back to Britain for the annual Well Child Awards, which take place in September. He is a long-term patron of the Charity for Seriously Ill Children. Then the next Invictus Games will be held in Vancouver in February. If only his security in the UK could be permanently settled in line with his wishes, a Sussex source tells us Celebrity Magazine People, it would be swords down on his interviews. Until then, the need to make serious money remains. The Sussex's commercial deals have not always been smooth sailing. The Netflix deal, announced to huge fanfare, is still there. Some programs have been made: the 6-part Bombshell, Harry and Meghan, an Invictus documentary, and a series about activists. But there has been the ever-present issue of staff departing and criticism from outside the industry over how long things have taken to come to fruition. They have parted ways with Spotify, with that unflattering but lingering description from an executive who called them effing grifters. There was a time one source joked that they seemed to be losing their sus-sex appeal. But there are projects coming up, including a rom-com, Meghan's cookery show, and a polo documentary, which Harry is undeniably well-placed to make. On the money-making front, the Duchess has launched a new lifestyle label, American Riviera Orchard, unveiled in April when she sent 50 jars of jam to friends. including reality star Kris Jenner and model Chrissy Teigen. Not yet off the ground, it has recently run into difficulties securing a trademark. Many of those who worked with Harry in years gone by remain fond of him, even as some of them admit to being deeply frustrated at his choices. The horrified reaction in royal circles to his memoir, documentary, and many interviews scarcely needs repeating. More recent articles in which Harry's friends lamented his security frustrations and lack of family warmth were described, sadly by one source, as a howl of rage. Conscious that the younger generation are always the more glamorous and fascinating to the public, allowing them to win column inches and broadcast time for their favorite causes. He once said he would use his own platform until I become boring, or until Prince George ends up becoming more interesting. And there you have it. If you'd like to email us, our address is thepalaceintrigue@gmail.com. Please follow us on Spotify, Apple, or the app of your choice. And send us a review or hit those stars if you're enjoying the show. I'm Mark Francis. My thanks to John McDermott. This is Palace Intrigue. Good times.